So if I start by showing you this, you should be able to see the beautiful view from the top of Stanmore Hill. And I think this at the bottom from London Foundations 2012 explains what the situation is that we're looking at. Stanmore gravel is of uncertain age and origin. It's been proposed as river deposits from South Bank tributaries of the Proto-Thames. Let me just minimize the people, sorry. I'm trying to minimize you. Okay, so I can see. It's been proposed as river deposits from South Bank tributaries of the Proto-Thames, rather like the older of the Thames terraces. However, its distribution suggests that it's a westward correlative of the Red Crag of East Anglia, and that it therefore comprises marine deposits of the latest Pliocene to earliest Pleistocene age. So I think that's the question that Peter Allen set us last time. That research is needed to look at that issue and try and ascertain the origin of the Stanmore gravel. Well, let's see where we go with that today. So I'll start with a quick run through of the field trip on the 24th of August to Harrow, Weald Common, SSSI and the surrounding area. And these are the intrepid explorers who went on that trip. Alan arranged the trip there in blue, and Guy took the photos. Sadly, I wasn't on the trip. So I went to the website to have a look at the Harrow Weald Nature Trail. And it's actually very nice. There's this info sheet, which has at point number 15 here. You can find it by following the link. It says at point 15, to the left, you will see a fence behind which is a geological site of special scientific interest. Such sites are the best examples of their kind in England. Here, Ice Age gravels are exposed. The origin of the pebble gravels, as they are termed, is uncertain. The boundary bank with the common represents the land level prior to gravel extraction and is now topped with some fine specimens of oak. Well, okay, but I thought that was quite a nice indication of the geology. So that's a good start. Guy took these two pictures of the two information boards that they saw on the trip. And I'd like to point out something from this about the Harrow Weald Common conservators and also about the history of the common, Harrow Weald Common. First, the history. It says that Harrow Weald Common suffered somewhat in the 19th century as a result of gravel extraction by the inhabitants of the parish of Harrow for the construction and surfacing of local roads. This gravel winning was one of several commoners' rights, including pannage and turbary. So it looks as if the good people of Harrow were allowed to help themselves to gravel at that point in time. At the end of the 19th century, I think it was 1899, they brought in the Harrow Weald Common conservators. And one of the things that they do, the issues faced by the original conservators were different to today, it says. They prevented the removal of turf sods, gravel, sand, and other substances. So one of the first things we need to work out is whether we can get in touch with the conservators and whether we need their permission to look at the gravel. Okay, so photographs from the 24th of August, that's showing what a lovely day it was. It really did look good there. The tree roots were examined. There was a pond, and I'm hoping the people who were on the trip are going to give more details about these in just a moment. They looked at the river channels going through, and I think the sides of the river channels had some good exposure of the gravel. So that's what we're looking at there. And the size of the clasts that they found, the pebbles that were available to be picked up. So I think that's the main photos we have of the actual gravel. They went to look at the source of the River Pin, one of the sources of the River Pin, and at the beautiful view from the top of Stanmore Hill. So I'm going to pause there for a moment, and if anybody would like to add some comments, if you were on that trip, or any questions that you may have for the people who were on the trip, can I ask you to you can wave at me, I should be able to see you, or you can use the raise hand function if you have it on your screen. Anybody want to add anything about the trip? I know you're all muted at the moment, but if you wave and you can unmute yourself. Alan, is there anything that you'd like to say that was of particular interest on that trip that you found?
Oh, it's just a little thing about the what it said on the information panel about them being glacial gravels. I'm not quite sure about that.
On the information?
But, yeah, on the information board.
This one?
Yeah.
And you're not, so can you say a little bit more about what you're not sure about?
Well, I may be wrong, but if the age is between 2 and 3 million years, there may not have been any ice around at that time in the British Isles.
So where it says Ice Age gravels are exposed, that's not actually strictly true.
Yeah, I don't know who actually wrote that paragraph.
Okay.
But maybe it's somebody at Harrow Council, I don't know.
Okay, interesting. I guess we'll get in touch with them. Is there anything you want to point out about the actual gravels or the water channels?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I have to say, yeah, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to say.
Okay, Jean wants to come in.
Yes, the picture we showed of different pebbles.
Yeah.
These were the large ones we found. That's why we picked them up specially. And
yeah,
yes,
that's right. Yes.
Right. That wasn't the general size of the pebble.
Yeah, the more typical size was about 15, 20 millimeters.
Okay, I wanted to ask about the matrix, because it looks as if it's very unconsolidated and very mixed.
They were consolidated. These they look very, very much. So that is how they are, like more like you get, you know, the proper stuff. So these have been bits, and they've been shelled together. They're being formed together. These like pudding stone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, a couple of those pebbles look like look conglomeratic, but I'm not absolutely sure. These are a better look at. Like. The two bottom right ones.
Yeah, here. Okay, well, if no one has any questions about the trip, can I just turn and see whether David Brooke wants to mention anything about the rig's site visit from 2011? I've just included a few of the photos that you sent round. David, anything you want to add?
I'm just thinking.
Sorry, throwing that at you out of the blue. I particularly, so I did put here a paragraph that I thought was most interesting from that report. There are potential exposures on both sides of the perimeter bank and the track, though they're probably best left as they are until someone needs an exposure for research purposes. Were you thinking it actually back in 2011 about research purposes?
Well, it had always been said by the BGS when they did their initial assessment of the SSSI, when the first London Foundations was written, that there was uncertainty about the origin of the Stanmore gravel, and that further research would clearly be needed in an attempt to identify its origin.
Mm.
When Brian Cousins, myself, Peter Collins and Di Clements visited the SSSI, we slightly illicitly entered the site, which your field trip stayed outside. And what we found there was that the perimeter bank, which you clearly saw from the outside, is also visible on the inside. It was not very well exposed, but we managed to expose a little bit of the gravel in the side of that bank. And there are potential exposures there. The trouble with that is that it is a perimeter bank on which the fence is built. And I don't think the owners would actually be very happy if we undermined their fence. Apart from that, there is in fact a trackway from the road down through the centre of the SSSI, which was kept open for the transport of the gravel out onto the road. And that is also on a raised bank, with the gravel in between having been excavated. And there are certainly potential exposures on the side of the bank near to the perimeter bank, and probably also on the other side, though we didn't actually look there. So if people wanted to actually extract take any gravel from it, then clearly they would need the permission of both the Harrow Weald Conservators and the owners of the site and of Natural England in order to do so.
And did you say that track is inside the private land of the garden centre or not?
It is inside the private land, yes.
Okay. Can I ask a question there, Dave, about that picture? I'll just go on to the next page where it's a bit bigger. And anyone else who has questions about this section. When I look at that matrix there, I wonder, how do you date gravel where each of the pebbles might be of a different age, but also the matrix looks just so made up of, could be anything, sand, peat, all kinds of stuff. It doesn't look like a uniform matrix, and so the ages might all be different.
A lot of it is probably soil, which has gone down into the gravel.
So what are you actually dating?
I'm not the person to ask that. That's probably David Bridgeland's field rather than mine.
Yeah, well, that's my question, really. What would we actually be dating? What are we aiming to date? And how does that work out?
Well, it's the BGS and other previous workers who dated it as quaternary. You need to ask them.
So
I think context comes into it, where it is relative to other deposits.
Right.
I may be wrong there.
So let me move to the background information that I've put together